Hello everyone, I'm Singbe Park, a philosopher of science at UNIST, Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology. In this video, I briefly summarize Chapter 2 of my book, Embracing Scientific Realism. The target viewers of this video are the philosophers of science who have already published and aim to publish more on scientific realism. As noted in Chapter 1, the no miracles argument and the pessimistic induction have dominated the scientific realism debate since the 1970s. In this chapter, I explicate and criticize the pessimistic induction, which is regarded as the strongest argument against scientific realism. There are many variants of the pessimistic induction, or many pessimistic inductions in the literature. The common ancestor of all those variants is what I call the classic pessimistic induction. The classic pessimistic induction holds that since past theories were discarded, present theories will also be discarded. For example, since the phlogiston theory was abandoned, the oxygen theory will also be abandoned. The classic pessimistic induction shouldn't be confounded with Laudan's objection. Laudan's objection is that there are historical counterexamples to scientific realism. The classic pessimistic induction implies that current theories will be overturned, whereas Laudan's objection is silent about whether current theories will be overturned. The classic pessimistic induction shouldn't be conflated with the Humean argument. The Humean argument holds that since past theories were false, present theories are unwarranted, i.e., we don't know whether present theories are true or false. The classic pessimistic induction accepts David Hume's uniformity principle, whereas the Humean argument rejects it. Pessimists tend to retreat to the Humean argument when the classic pessimistic induction is under fire. This move is not available to instrumentalists because they endorse the uniformity principle. Some pessimists accept the classic pessimistic induction, but reject inference to the best explanation. In my view, however, it is arbitrary for them to do so. After all, the classic pessimistic induction instantiates the rule of inference called inductive generalization. Both inference to the best explanation and inductive generalization are inductive inferences. Justification is required for accepting inductive generalization but rejecting inference to the best explanation. Some pessimists use evolutionary theory to give the pessimistic accounts of scientific development. My response to those pessimists is to point out that it is incoherent to use evolutionary theory to flesh out the pessimistic accounts of scientific development. It is wrong to appeal to a scientific theory to argue that scientific theories are false. Over the past several decades, scientific realists and pessimists had intense debates over the classic pessimistic induction. Their debates revealed that the classic pessimistic induction has the following four intrinsic problems. First, current theories are more successful than past theories. So from the fact that past theories were thrown out, it doesn't follow that current theories will be thrown out. Second, the classic pessimistic induction, invoking Laudan's list, commits the fallacy of biased statistics. Third, scientific revolutions occur in different frequencies in different fields of science. But the classic pessimistic induction lumps together disparate theories in all fields of science. Fourth, the classic pessimistic induction, invoking Laudan's list, overlooks what I call neighbor constraints. Thick and high walls separating the different fields of science began to fall down at around the turn of the 20th century. The problem of unconceived alternatives states that since past scientists lack the cognitive capacity to conceive of alternatives to their theories, current scientists also lack the cognitive capacity to conceive of alternatives to their theories. The problem of unconceived alternatives is a successor to the classic pessimistic induction. After all, it is intended to overcome the first objection to the classic pessimistic induction, namely, current theories are more successful than past theories. In response to the problem of unconceived alternatives, I construct what I call the grand pessimistic induction. It holds that since the classic pessimistic induction has infinitely many hidden problems, its successors, including the problem of unconceived alternatives, also have infinitely many hidden problems. The justification for the premise is that the classic pessimistic induction turned out to have the aforementioned four intrinsic problems. As we think more about the classic pessimistic induction, more problems with it will be discovered. As a result, the inductive rationale will grow stronger for thinking that there are more hidden problems with it. Consequently, the classic pessimistic induction has infinitely many hidden problems. The relative pessimistic induction holds that past theories, although more successful than their forerunners, were thrown out. So current theories, although more successful than past theories, will also be thrown out. My response to the relative pessimistic induction is to argue that it is vulnerable to the grand pessimistic induction, according to which, since the classic pessimistic induction is infinitely problematic, its successors, including the relative pessimistic induction, are also infinitely problematic. The pessimistic induction over realists holds that since past realists were wrong about their theories, present realists are also wrong about their theories. My response to the pessimistic induction over realists is to argue that it falls victim to the grand pessimistic induction, according to which, since the classic pessimistic induction is infinitely problematic, its successors, including the pessimistic induction over realists, are also infinitely problematic. The epistemic pessimistic induction holds that since past theories were unwarranted, current theories are also unwarranted. My response to the epistemic pessimistic induction is to argue that it falls prey to the grand pessimistic induction, according to which, since the classic pessimistic induction is infinitely problematic, its successors, including the epistemic pessimistic induction, are also infinitely problematic. The problem of misleading evidence holds that since evidence for past theories was misleading, evidence for current theories is also misleading. The problem of misleading evidence is intended to improve upon the problem of unconceived alternatives. My response to the problem of misleading evidence is to argue that it is susceptible to the grand pessimistic induction, according to which, since the classic pessimistic induction and the problem of unconceived alternatives are infinitely problematic, their successors, including the problem of misleading evidence, are also infinitely problematic. Before the problem of misleading evidence was born, grand pessimists predicted that the problem of unconceived alternatives would be replaced by a hitherto unconceived future pessimistic induction. Given that the problem of misleading evidence is just born, it will be around for a while. As predicted, however, it has infinitely many hidden problems, so it will be displaced by a hitherto unconceived future pessimistic induction. Proportional pessimism is the idea that the probability that a theory will be overturned is proportional to the number of its predecessors. Proportional pessimism is built into any pessimistic induction. Now, we discussed 6 first-order pessimistic inductions. Which of them is most likely to be infinitely problematic? My answer is that the problem of misleading evidence is most likely to be infinitely problematic. After all, it has 2 predecessors, whereas the classic pessimistic induction doesn't have any predecessor, and the rest of them have one predecessor. I challenge pessimists to refute the grand pessimistic induction without thereby also refuting their 6 first-order pessimistic inductions. I predict that their criticisms against the grand pessimistic induction will inevitably backfire on their 6 first-order pessimistic inductions, thereby strengthening the grand pessimistic induction. I dare say that once their first attempt to refute the grand pessimistic induction fails, a pessimistic specter will arise, i.e., their second attempt to refute the grand pessimistic induction will also fail as a matter of induction. I just summarized Chapter 2 of my book, Embracing Scientific Realism. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.